Hello class, this is Dr. Fenton. In this video, I'm going to show you how to work project number 1 for Accounting 200L. Now this project is to reinforce the various kinds of accounts that you'll see in Accounting 200 to learn the type of account they are, in other words the classification, such as asset, liability, and so forth, and also which statements do these accounts show up in. So let's get started. You'll see on the screen the Excel spreadsheet you'll download from Canvas. Now, you have various accounts listed in column A, and then in column B, this is the first step you need to complete. I have completed these first two rows and a few others down through here. So what you're going to do is look at each account you have over here on the left and decide what kind of account classification is it. Is it an asset, liability, stockholders' equity, dividends, revenues, or expenses? And when you decide what type of an account it is, use this code to place in this column. I've done the first one for you. So, the cash account is an asset account. Asset accounts will be coded with number 1. And so drop the number 1 in here. And also, accounts receivable. It's an asset. Use number 1 and enter it here manually. Now what you really need to do is look at page S, that's as in Sam, S3, in the very back of your Accounting 200 textbook. In fact, this is the last page that anything is printed on. So it's in the far back, just inside the cover. You'll see on that page a representative chart of accounts. And this will show you the account classifications. So I know this is all brand new to you. You're new Accounting 200 and 200L students. So make sure you look at that page. So again, it's page S3 in the back of your book, the very far back of your book. So here's what you need to do. Go to this cell right here. This is B4. And you look at accounts, allowance for uncollectible accounts. If you look on page S3 and you decide that is an asset account, then enter the number 1. So just put 1 right here. If you decide notes receivable is an asset account, enter the number 1. So you will fill out this column manually, all the way down. If you decide accounts payable is a liability account, which you see that it will be on page S3, then accounts payable, you'll have the number 2 here. So you need to complete all these. Now down here you have stockholders' equity accounts. That's the number 3. I did the preferred stock for you. Dividends, number 4, right here. Scroll down a little bit. Then you have some revenue accounts down through here. You decide which ones are the revenue accounts. You'll enter 5. And then expense accounts, you'll enter 6. So I think we pretty well would know that depreciation expense is an expense account. So you would enter 6. Entertainment expense, you would enter 6. And complete the others. So you should have a number in every row of column B when you finish, all the way down to utilities expense. The numbers will be only 1 through 6. 7 through 9 will go in this column. Okay, so the first step is to identify these accounts and what type of an account they are. What's the classification? Again, asset, liability, stockholders' equity, dividends, revenues, or expenses. That's step number 1. Step number 2, now let's decide which financial statements these accounts show up in. That's what we're doing in column C. I've already done the first 2 for you. The cash will show up in the balance sheet, so use code number 7. The accounts receivable also is a balance sheet account. We'll use code number 7. If you decide accounts receivable is a balance sheet account, you'll also enter number 7 here. And notes receivable, if you decide it's a balance sheet account, number 7 here. Again, don't forget, look on page S3 in the back of your textbook. Let's go down. You'll have quite a few of these as balance sheet accounts. If you decide dividends, dividends down here, goes in the statement of changes in stockholders' equity, number 9, you'll enter this here, which I've already done for you. So decide the same thing for stock dividends. Then any income statement accounts, you'll use the number 8. So you're going to find out that your revenue accounts and your expense accounts will be coded with number 8 here. So, like advertising expense is an 8, and you're going to see that sales revenue is an 8. Now some of these others, like sales allowances, sales discounts, sales returns, don't quite sound like income statement accounts, and this is something you'll learn in later chapters, but they are, So again, look at the chart of accounts on page S3. So just like column B, column C will have numbers entered all down through here when you finish. So make sure you find out, where do these accounts show up in the financial statements. Your only choices in column C will be a 7, an 8, or a 9. So that's step 2. Now step 3 is where we really start to use Excel. So part of this project is to help you not only identify the accounts and the classifications and the statements that go on, but also to identify, or really to help reinforce what you learned in Excel in a previous course. So we're going to use a formula here, a function in D2. That's where we are right here, D2. What we want to do now is to actually end up with the name of the classification in this column. So cash you identified with code number 1 as an asset. Now we want the word asset to show up here. So we'll do that for all the asset accounts. The liability accounts, we want the word liability to show up. The stockholders' equity accounts, same thing. So you're going to have all the names of the classifications for everything down through utilities expense. Of course, this will be an expenses account. So this is a formula that's a little bit complicated looking at first, but it's not too bad. You have to be very, very careful. We're going to use what's called a nested if function. A nested if function. So we're going to have multiple tests, and we're going to say if a certain item equals a certain number, then we want a label to show up in column D. So again, you want the word asset to show up here. So we're going to say with this formula that if code, for cash, code is 1, we want asset to be here. If accounts receivable, the code is 1, asset. For like accounts payable, if the code is 2, we want the word liability to show up here. So the function is like this: equal if, and then we're going to open parentheses. So you can say if what's in B2, if what's right here is equal to the number 1, the one right here, equal to number 1, then put a comma here. I should put it up here. Then you want the word asset to show up in column D. We're going to click here. No use retyping the names if they're already here. You want the word in G3 to show up. So we clicked here, G3 showed up right here. We need to lock in that cell though. You lock in that cell reference with $signs. So we've locked that in. So it's not going to move around on us when we copy this down the rest of the column. So you're saying if B1, if B2 equals 1, then you want the asset name to show up. Now if we just stopped here, this is not the complete formula. Let me just show you something. If we close this with a parentheses and hit enter, there's the word asset. Okay, so we didn't have to type the word asset. We just put in the formula. Again, you can see it here. What we want to do though is have a formula we can use all down through here, regardless of whether it's an asset, liability, or any of the other account classifications. So we need to expand this formula. So I'm going to take out this parentheses, put a comma here, and type in if again. So now we're going to say if B2 is equal to the number 2, then, comma, then you want the word liability to show up. So click here. So we have G4. Click next to the G, put a $sign in, move over, $4, and then what we're saying, if whatever we come across here, because we're going to copy and paste this all the way down, or really just drag it down. if any of these accounts down here that are not assets have different codes, which they do, we want the word liability to show up. And we're going to do this for the rest of these. Stockholders' equity, dividends, and so forth. So let's keep going then. We're going to go right now. If, and let me go back here. I should have put in a parentheses right there. Okay, don't want to forget that. Okay, so put another one here. If, parentheses open, B2 is equal to, let me capitalize that B just to be consistent. B2 is equal to the number 3, comma, then we want the word stockholders' equity to show up. Don't forget to lock in G5 here with dollar signs, comma, if, parentheses open, B2 is equal to the number 4. Then, comma, then we want the word dividends to show up right here. Lock in that cell. G6 locked in, comma. Now if B2 is equal to the number 5, comma, then you want the word revenues to show up. And so click next to the G, lock this in, dollar sign, okay, comma, and then one more. If, parentheses open, open, B2 is equal to the number 6. Then you want the word expenses to show up. Lock in the G8, G8. Okay, so we've completed the difficult part of the formula. And so, expenses, G8. Now what we need to do is close out all the parentheses. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. I need a parentheses here. I put the 9 there. See, good way to look for mistakes. Okay, there's number 5. And the number 6 parentheses right here. We need 6 ending parentheses to close this formula out. So just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now you might be thinking, why did we use B2 in every one of these? Because you know B2 right here is not equal to 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. Well, when we grab this formula and bring it down, it's going to be able to answer appropriately for liabilities and stockholders' equity and so forth. So we're here. Let's hit enter. Okay, so we have asset. Nothing's changed yet. Asset. So we don't have any formula down here yet. It's right here. Now what we can do is grab this, bring it down all the way down to here, and you can see the answers populate down through column D. Now you can see some of them have actual answers for these classifications. Others have false. These have false because we have not entered, at least I have not entered, any number here. So you're going to do this on your own. You'll have all this completed. So if I think land is an asset, I put the number 1 here, then it will show here that's an asset. So don't worry about this. When you complete all of column B and column C, all these answers will show up appropriately. That's step 3. Step 4 is to now decide which financial statements these assets show up in. So again, go back and look at your chart of accounts. It'll really help you. Our choices here will be 7, 8, and 9. So this formula you can see is going to be a lot shorter. We're still going to use the nested IF function though. So we're going to go equal IF, parentheses open, if C2, okay, so we're looking at right now column C2, if C2 is equal to 7, you type in a 7, comma, then you want the answer to be balance sheet. Click here, lock in that cell reference, $, And let me just show you. I'll close this up right now and come back and complete it. Let's hit this. And so it's showing you that we've decided the cash goes on the balance sheet, okay, with that formula. We want this to be able to pick up all these other statements. So let's go back to this formula, take out the parentheses, and add some more if functions. So if C2 is equal to 8, the number 8, comma, then we want income statement to show up as the name. So $, lock that in. And then comma, if, open it up, C2 is equal to the number 9, comma, then we want the name statement of changes to stockholders' equity to show up. Lock in this cell, so $, and that's it. We just had 3 items, and so we have 3 parentheses to close out. 1, 2, 3. Let's close those out. 1, 2, 3, and then we're done. Let's hit enter. This stays the same. Click here, grab this part of the box, bring it down all the way to here. Oh, I didn't carry this one down far enough. I could do that right quick. Right there anyway, okay. So you'll see that a lot of these will be balance sheet accounts, but some of them identified with a 9 will be in the statement of change of stockholders' equity. Others with an 8 here, coded as an 8, as we can see here, the 8, they will be income statement accounts. So again, like for example, if supplies you decide is going to be on the balance sheet, you will have entered a 7 here, and you can see the balance sheet shows up. So that's step 3. So all this will be completed. Now what you'll do is, after this page is completed, click at the bottom, right here. You want this to look like what's in your book on that page S3. This is a chart of accounts. So I don't want you to retype all these account names. I mean, you're going to be busy enough with what I'm going to show you. I want you to make sure you clicked in this cell here, right here, and you're going to say, I want this cell to equal what is right here, this cash name. Hit enter, it brings it over for you. Now I want you to have the order of these just like they are in the chart of accounts on page S3. So if you decide, if you look on page S3, and when you look at page S3, I did not use every account possible on that page, but I want you to keep the order of the accounts, the ones I've used, just like they were on page S3. So if you decide that all these asset accounts are in the proper order, down through equipment, that's the last asset, or really accumulated depreciation, are in the correct order, the easy way to do this is grab this corner, bring it down, and you're done. And this is using Excel to make it do the work, and you don't have to retype all these words. If you've entered it once someplace in Excel, you can have it brought over to another cell later on. Now in your liabilities, you want this to again look like your chart of accounts on page S3. So you want this to be equal. Come back over to this page, and you're going to find out you need accounts payable. Right here, hit enter, and accounts payable show up. Be careful from this point on though. On this chart, under accounts payable, I don't have these liability accounts in the same order as the chart of accounts. I want you to do that. So you'll look at the chart of accounts and you'll see that notes payable is next, even though it's not next on this page. So go here. So you want this one to equal. Find the name chart of notes payable right here. Hit enter, and then you're going to get this in the correct order as shown on page S3. So do this for each of these boxes, again following exactly what's on page S3, even though I told you that on page S3 it has a lot more accounts than I use. So don't be trying to force accounts in here. Only place accounts from this page over onto this page. And that's it. And so once you get completed, it should look like on page S3. If you want to clean this up a little bit, you see we lost the bottom here. You can just click a thick bar on the bottom and it shows up. That's not really necessary. So what I'm going to be looking for when I grade is to make sure you have the formulas here. I don't want you to retype all this. Just like back here, I do not want you to retype all these names all over again. I'm going to be looking at this formula. That's what you're going to be graded on. I know this first one here is a very long formula, but the good part of it, you only have to prepare it once. And after that, you just bring it down to the other cells. So you just have to prepare this long formula and it'll look just like this. So just copy this. But I want you to do it yourself. So once you enter something, I've entered a lot of this for you, don't retype something. You're trying to make Excel do the work for you. You're going to see this pop up in projects 2 and 3. You're going to have Excel do a lot of the work for you. Okay, well that's how you get started, and yours will look a lot better than this with all the numbers filled out. Just like let's say prepaid rent. 1 goes here, enter. You see the asset pops up here, and if you decide 7 goes here, hit enter. You'll see the balance sheet. So yours look completed here, and you'll have a completed chart of accounts when you're finished. Okay, well good luck on your projects.